Are we live? I believe we are. I think the stream started without me just because I scheduled. What's up, guys? There's Cousin here. Haven't done a stream in a while, actually. I've done a few, like couple months back, I think like a year ago. Took a break, but now I'm back and I have some really cool things that I'm gonna do on the stream. So sit back and enjoy. We already have someone here, Vector Gallery. First, congratulations. You definitely are the first, and I think you were the first before I pressed live. So, you can delay ads. I think I put ads, but maybe I shouldn't have put ads. Anyways, cool. Let me post this on the Discord so that we can tell everyone that we're here. How do I get the link? Share. Copy the link. Discord. Announcements. There we go. Live streaming. We're now building an app. Message over 500 people. Let's do it. Cool. Discord is posted. People should be coming in. Great. Mateus, second, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Cool. So what we're going to do right now, I have something really, really cool. So I'm in the process right now of building apps, and I'm in a process of building one app, but it's actually two apps, can be even three apps depending on how you view it. And I'm going to build it live on stream, and I started the app yesterday, and I'm going to show you exactly what it is. So let me open up VSCode. Let me open up, this is the correct project. This is kind of the code that I have so far, and here's what we're going to be building. So I have to give a little bit of context as to what this is. So I've recently decided that I want to start building and launching apps to try to monetize them and see if anything sticks, just kind of as a side thing, because my whole thing is building apps, right? That's what I do as a career. That's why I made the YouTube channel on React and everything. And what I want is, I had an idea to build a habit app, like a habit tracker, right? Pretty simple, nothing novel there, but to add like an RPG kind of twist to it. So have it be gamified a bit. I think there's a lot of value in like gamified games, right? So I want to do that for fun. There is definitely a market for this. And the apps that are out there currently right now, they serve that market, but they're not great. Like the user experience can be a lot better, right? So I want to try to build something great, try to follow best practices, design patterns, everything that I love to teach on the channel. And yeah, try to do it in as quick of a time as possible, right? So like try to build like an MVP, minimum viable product, and then just launch it and see what sticks. And funny enough, I actually from this kind of realized that I could turn this into not just one app, but like multiple apps. Because a lot of the ideas that I have, I can share code in between. So this app right now is actually a fork. That's why it's kind of already, a lot of things are built. It's actually a fork of another routines app, which just looks kind of dissimilar, but let's change the theme here to kind of differentiate between the two. This is a routine app that I've already built. I'm about to launch this next week for testing, publish it on the App Store. This routines app has kind of the base functionality of what I want for the habit app. So this one, you can create a routine over here. We can give it like morning routine. You can select an icon, for example, right? I have all of these icons over here. You can set the actual days that, you know, this routine is due. Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? You know, you can customize this at will, and then you can set a time. Then let's put it daily for now. Let's create it. Then, I believe, yeah, there's a bug right now in this app because I'm currently working on it. It's totally fine. You create your routine and then you're able to do the routine, right? Now, this app over here is a habit app, right? So it's not routines, it's habits, but it's pretty similar. And the goal, I basically was able to use all of the code for the routines app on this. And now we're going to work on it and migrate it from routines to habits and actually start building out the specific features, because a habit is not exactly the same thing as a routine. But the benefit of doing this is that now I have two apps that kind of share most of the same code. One is a fork of another. So it saves me a lot of time. We already get the starting state here that we can just work on directly. That's pretty cool. And I save myself a lot of time, right? So that was kind of the goal, right? You want to launch something, you want to save yourself time. And this is one way that I found to do it. So what's up, guys? Damn, we have people in here. Ashan, how are you doing? Jagar, hey man, what's up? The Boxsters, what's up? Mateus, what is this Habit RPG app? There you go. It's a habit game with RPG elements, so it's gamified. It's basically a habit tracker that is gamified, and that's kind of a niche of apps to launch. You take something that exists already, that's novel, that's not novel, and then you add a gamified twist to it, and then it becomes something cool. Love your videos, Ukesh. Thank you so much. Bernardo, we have Tushar, Vinay, let's go. Camille, I work in React for like 4 years now, but I enjoy the movies. Very solid stuff. You are the GOAT. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I'm actually in the process of trying to do a little bit more advanced content, because I realized my audience, I've been making videos for over a year now, and my audience is slowly like growing in terms of experience and whatnot. So it makes sense to start doing a little bit more advanced content. So hope that you enjoy this as well. When are you going to finish? I don't know. Whenever, as soon as possible. This app as soon as possible. I'm going to try to do the minimum amount for this to be like launchable on an app store to give some values to potential users. That's kind of the goal, right? Please send me the repo of the filters video. Dude, check out, there's a long form version of that same video on the channel. It has the repo. Check it out. Ali, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Cool. So let's begin. This, by the way, is a React Native app because, yes, someone pointed out this is React Native. Yes, because a lot of people don't know, I'm actually a React Native developer at heart. That's what I do as a career. And yeah, we're going to be building this in React Native. But do not worry. As you can see here, all of this code is pure React. Like the React Native parts are so little, so minimum, that if you're a React developer, like you'll be fine. Like I teach React as a React developer, and I'm doing just fine, so you're gonna do just fine as well. Cool, so let's begin. Let's jump right into the action, honestly. Let's just see what we have. So yesterday, I forked this app from the routines app, and I was starting in the process of migrating all of the routine stuff to habits. So as you can see here on line 50, right, we have this use routines for date query. This is a query that's using React Query, right? We all know and love React Query. And this one is getting routines, right? I just now created the equivalent version for the habits, use habits for date query. So that now we have the habits. But as you can see here, habits is declared, but its value is never read, right? So we're not using the habits. What I want to do is I want to kind of go through the code that is routines. So like this routine entry list component over here, we're going to have to migrate this to an actual habit, the habit entry list as well. And we're going to slowly start rebuilding. I mean, not rebuilding, but just slowly changing all of the routine stuff to habits. And you're going to see that very quickly, we're going to have a working app that can do habits, right? Because right now, we can press the plus over here, right? But as you can see, the design is not really finalized yet. I will change that in just a second. We can't create anything because it still says create routine, right? So we have to change this to a habit, right? So we're on the schedule page, right? This is the schedule screen, right? So this is the screen that you're seeing over here. Let me just, no, this is big enough. You guys can see that. We have the schedule screen, and here at the top, you have a list of dates over here. So we're Thursday, August 1st, right? And then you can just navigate on this list of dates, and whatever date you select, that's the habits that you're going to see. All of this is going to be driven by the use habits for date query, right? This one takes in a selected date, which is here, as you can see, a piece of state. Let me just make this bigger. This is a piece of state over here, right? It starts as the start of the day of the new date, so of today, right? That's going to be today. That's the selected date, right? So that gets passed here to this query. We have the use habits for date query, which is just a custom hook that I did to wrap React query. That's a nice pattern to do. You create a custom hook for every single query that you have, and then we're passing it here the query key. So we're passing it here query keys.habits, right? I have a separate object over here for all of my query keys to be able to be reused across the application. That's also a great pattern to do if you're going to be reusing query keys all over the place in your application. Make an object for those and then just do it. And then we're passing the date as an object here on the query key to make sure that React works with the cache, as we all know. And then we're running this get habits for date function, and we're passing it the actual date. And then this get habits for date is here, and this is the function that will get you the habits. So one important thing to note about this app is there's no real backend. Everything happens locally on device. I didn't want to create an app that needed necessarily internet to like work, or needed to wait for like a request response cycle to actually get data. I wanted this to be extremely fast. Everything is local first, offline first. It's going to work on a plane. It's going to work on Mount Everest, right, if you want. And everything is driven based off a SQLite database that is running locally on the phone, which Expo, which is what I'm using to build this, makes it really, really easy to do. And then to have cloud sync and to have backups and all of that, you just upload the SQLite file to some cloud storage. I'm using Supabase for this. And then you get cloud sync, right? So you get the benefits of doing everything locally, offline first, right? Great user experience, which is important for an app. That's also what all of the competition apps, they do not have. They don't have a great user experience. You literally have to press something and then wait like 10 seconds to get a response, which sucks, honestly, as a user of an app. And I think this is going to be better, right? So this is the get habits for date function that I just did yesterday, and basically just run some queries over here, not necessarily efficiently, but we can fix that later to get the habits and then return those. And then we are here. We have the habits and they're ready to be used. Will you do a video on how to write React with Solid? I already have a couple of those, dude. I have design patterns videos. They tend to do really well on my channel, and rightfully so. It's very important. So go check out the design patterns on my channel. You're going to find a couple of them, and I believe I even have a playlist for them as well. Cool. So let's dive into some actual code. So we have the habits, right? We're getting these from the query. So the query part is done. We're fetching them. They're already accessible here in this component. Great. Now let's use them. To figure out how to actually use them, well, let's look at where routines are actually being used, right? And try to replicate that behavior. So if I look here at routines, if I just highlight these routines, you're going to see that we have some code over here that uses a custom hook to run some code on foreground. On foreground in the React Native world is basically when you open up the app on your phone when it hasn't been closed. So let's say you've opened up the app, right? So let me just demonstrate. The app here is open. Let's say that you go home and then you open up some other app, right? And then you come back to the app. That is going to trigger on foreground. You've just foregrounded the app, right? Basically, this just checks if it's been more than 5 minutes since the last time you did. If it has been, I just reset the selected date and I invalidate the query to kind of give you a fresh start on the app. It's a great user experience. I'm not going to do this just now because this is like the easy part to do, right? You just change this query. We're going to do this a little bit later. So let's move on. Now we have routines, and then routines.length is smaller than 5. If routines.length is smaller than 5, we're going to render this plus button, which I believe we also want this, right? So if you have more than 5 routines, I kind of lock the application. You're not able to add any more routines. And the plan is to get people to pay either a subscription or something to get more routines, right? That's something that you usually want to do. So we want to do the same thing in this. I think this makes sense. So let's come here, replace routines with habits, and our app should still work. Oh, I have to start the server. PNPM start C, and then, ooh, what happened here? No, that's not what I want. It's already running, is it? There we go. It's already running. Look at this beautiful little temporary logo. Don't steal this because I'm not going to use it. But yeah, cool. So now, if we have habits and habits.length is smaller than 5, we're going to show this. It has disappeared. Why has this disappeared? Let's see. Oh, I know what the problem is. Okay. So because I'm in the middle of changing everything to habits and routines, my database right now is in a broken state and it's not working. So we should fix that. We should first get the database in a stable state. Cool. So let's come here. I have this seed.ts file, which basically has a function called seed database, which will seed the database on app launch. This one essentially just creates the user, right? So to be able to store in the local database. And then what we want to do is we actually want to add some habits here so that we have some data to work with already pre-populated so that we don't have to like create our own data like every single time, right? So we're going to come here and do create habits. And as you can see, I already have some code here that I can probably reuse because routines and habits, they are pretty similar, right? So let's do habits, and that is going to be db.insert. We're going to do habit model. We're going to import this dot values, and let's see. Is this going to be sufficient? No, it's not. We have values. What are we missing over here? And name does not exist on type. You know what would be really helpful? If we actually put habits here on the right, not API, habit models, there we go. This is my habit model, right? So I'm using Drizzle ORM for this. It's a great library. It works really well with React Native. It works really well with React generally. And I created my model here, right? So it's a SQLite table. We gave it habits as a name, and we have ID, difficulty, name, notes, notification reminders, user ID, created and updated at. Great. So what's the problem here? It's saying that name, I believe I forgot difficulty, right? So let's do difficulty. That's going to be easy, right? Is this still going to complain? It doesn't need an icon. Fair, because we removed the icon. Oh, actually, no. We need to add the icon. So let's go here to routine, because I also have a model from the routine. Remember, I'm currently porting this over from a routine, right? Routine has an icon. So let's actually copy the same code. This icon is an enum of all of these icons. We're probably going to want the same icons. That's fine. So let's put them here and rename this to habit icon enum. That's what we want. And then we're going to take this icon and we're going to put the icon right above the name, right? Because this is alphabetical, and then this should be habit. There we go. Okay, so now we have an icon. So now I believe we should put an icon here, and we should put, what's our routine? What do we want like as a routine? Anyone have any suggestions for a routine that we can just use? Anything, right? I put here like drink water, but let's say workouts, right? I think that's fair. We also have an icon for it. Let's put the barbell as an icon. There we go. And notes, we're gonna do a workout, right? Pretty simple. We're gonna have this be notification reminders true. I think that makes sense. Why not? What's wrong? Why is this still complaining, right? So you have the habit model, we have the name, we have the icon, we have the notes, we have the notification reminders, we have the difficulty, and we have the name, right? What's the problem? Habits db.insert habit model, that is correct. And then we have values over here, right? Let's see. Object literal may only specify known properties, and name does not exist in type. Difficulty icon. What am I importing here? Habit model. Yeah. Am I missing something? Can you do a video on React Quell? Yeah, sure. I have never used React Quell. I can definitely look into it. I basically judge how I'm going to make my videos based on how in demand they actually are. The libraries themselves, right? So like Redux, for example, is one of my most popular videos because Redux is highly in demand. It has like over 10 million downloads on NPM. So I will look into it and yeah, get back to you. So let's see. Habit. Why is this? Property user ID is missing in type. Why did the error now like... right. User ID. We missed user ID, right? So we have the user model over here, right? So let's just do const users equals await DB user model. We're going to get access to the array of users that is returning because we put returning over here. Great. And then we're going to do user ID, users one ID. There we go. Our error cleared. We are good to go, right? So we created here the habits. Do we need to do anything with the habits? Yes, we do. We do, because if I go here to relations, so let's put the relations over here on the right. So the habit has a couple of relations. It has a many-to-one relation to the entries. So that's the habit entry model. So that's when you actually write an entry on a specific date for a habit, it's going to create an entry model for that habit. So that needs a relation, but we're not going to need that in the seed function. So that's fine. We have the, oh, this is interesting. We have the frequencies, which is the habit frequency model, and then the versions, the habit version model. So a lot of these apps, what they do, unfortunately, is that if you, for example, you have a habit, right, that you want to do, I don't know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m., right? Let's say that that's your like gym, right? And you do that for like a month, 2 months, and everything is fine, right? But then you're like, 6 o'clock doesn't really work for me. Let's change it to 7 or 5, or let's do it in the morning at like, I don't know, 8 in the morning, right? You want to change that habit. You want to change its frequency, right? So that's the habit frequency model over here. You want to say that the time is no longer at 6 o'clock or whatever. It's now at 8 in the morning. Or it's no longer Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's on some other day. You get it, right? What a lot of these other apps will have you do is they will actually give you a prompt saying that you either cannot change your habit after it's been done, or if you change it, you lose all of your data in the past. I find that sucks, and I find that kind of breaks it breaks a very common use case of an app, right? Like things change, right? Life is ever changing, things change. You can't expect a user to always have the thing that they put in. It's going to change, right? So what I do is I created the habit version model over here, which basically has a relation to the habit, right? So it's actually defined as a many-to-one, but it's actually a one-to-one. No, it's a many-to-one because a habit can have many versions. Yeah, fair enough. So I have a version, and every time you make a change to your habit, I create a new version for it, and I save the old one, and you just make a change, right? So then your old data stays intact with the old version. So from this day onwards, it's now in the morning, but from yesterday onwards, backwards, right? It is still the way you had it, right? And this is gonna work with like analytics, with charts and everything. And I find it's a better user experience to allow users to like update things, right? So that's kind of the goal here. That's why I have the habit version, and the habit frequency defines the actual frequency of the habit. So all this to say, here in the seed, where we're actually creating some demo data for us to use, we need a habit frequency, and then we need a habit version to be able to attach to this habit so that our app works correctly, right? And I believe that's what I did. Yeah, that's exactly what I did over here as well with the routines in the past. So let's come back here. So let's do create habit version, and let's see, can Copilot guess? Because Copilot has all of this data here for the routines. So theoretically, it should be able to do the exact same thing for the habits because it is the exact same thing, right? But it's gonna put it with a comment. I don't like this. Let's do const habit versions equals await db dot insert habit version model, and let's see what Copilot comes up with. Habit ID is equal to habits, right? We need to do dot returning here to actually return the data. So in Drizzle, whenever you insert something, if you want to get back the thing that you insert in an actual variable, you have to put returning here. So now we put returning, it works. I'm going to put version 1, which is fair because we want to start it at version 1. And then the valid date, right? So that is a property here on the habit version model. The valid date is the date from which this version is valid. I use that to essentially check on any given date which version was active at that date, and then figure out the frequency of the habit on that date, right? So we need to provide it a valid date, and I'm going to use the format from date FNS, and we're going to give this a constant date format, which is here in my constants utils file. You hear date format year, month, day. By the way, I always like to preach a utils folder inside of your applications. There it is, bright and shining, right? Utils folder. And I have here a bunch of utilities that are used throughout the application. Small things like this, right? Including constants, which makes a lot of sense, right? I use this date format, date human format, all of these, I use them across the application. And of course, I also use query keys, right, across the application. Putting them in the utils folder in their separate file makes a lot of sense, and I preach that, and that's why I preach that. He is using Expo. Yes, I'm using Expo. Abel, what's up, dude? I'm glad you're here, man. Let's go, man. Abel is like my favorite guy ever. I worked with Abel in the past. We built like a couple of projects together. He is great. He's a great JavaScript developer, great Discord bot developer. Yo, if you need like a great Discord bot, like check out Abel. He's one of our mods in our Discord. Super chill. He's not working. He's like learning to become a better developer, and he's here on the stream. So like, let's go. Use field array in React hook form. I do. I haven't used it, but I do know about it. Yes, I do. Please make a video in TypeScript complete. I have a video that kind of covers TypeScript, and it was on converting JavaScript to TypeScript in a React component. It's very useful. That's a great starting point to transition from working with React and JavaScript to working with React and TypeScript. So go check that out. Is the stream will be saved? Yes, it will. It's on YouTube. It'll be there forever. Enjoy. Facecam dead. Oh, shit. Thank you. Oh, my God. Yeah, so my cameraman, after 30 minutes, it dies, it times out. So thank you for that. I will keep an eye out. I'm back and I've magically materialized. Fix your camera. Thank you. Are you using Expo or Clean React Native? Expo, man. Expo is the shit. Like it's phenomenal and I wouldn't like go without it, right? Yeah, he's using Expo. Cool. So we have the constants, we have the utils, we have the habit versions. We just created one, no errors here. So the habit ID, we're passing it habits index0.id. There's only ever going to be one habit, so it's fine. Version is going to be 1. Validate is going to be UTC now because I'm storing everything in the actual database in the SQLite in UTC. So that's going to be UTC now, date format, and then created at, updated at. Perfect. We have the habit versions. Let's now do the same with creates habit frequency, and let's see, can it figure it out? We have await db.insert habit frequency model, and then we're going to put habit, right, we need to put the returning over here. And then the frequency, so this is going to be, what is it's our workout. Let's put 1800, so 6 o'clock, and it's going to be every day. It's going to be daily. Actually, no, let's do it. Let's do it daily for now, just to keep things simple. We have our habit frequency, and I believe we are good to go. If I look here at my relations, we have nothing with habit entry right now because we're not working on entries. We just have frequency and version. Perfect. So we have our seed. Great. So now what I'm going to do, let's see if this works. I'm going to stop this and I'm going to do pnpm run drizzle regenerate. That is going to kill all of my drizzle folder and is going to regenerate. And let's close all of these things. Let's put SQL. There you go. This is our SQL that has been generated by Drizzle with our habits table over here, our habit entries, habit frequencies, and this should be fine, right? So now, if we have this, what I want to do is I want to open up database.utils, and here I'm just going to import the file system from Expo file system, and then console log the file system.document directory, open up the console, pnpm start. You're going to see why I do this in just a moment is because this SQLite database on the actual device is stored somewhere on my computer because it's a simulator. I want to access that database, delete it so that we get to start fresh with a fresh database that we just created. So let's see what will pop up. Abel is at work right now watching the stream. Let's go, man. You're being like double productive. You're getting money and you're learning and you're here chilling, man. Respect. Abel, I miss you, man. We should work on something like together, man. Like, ugh. It's been too long. Great. So we have this lovely migration error here, which I hope no user ever gets to see that. We're going to add a thing to fix this later on. But there we go. We have here the actual path of our SQLite database. So let's do this. We can actually comment out the file system stuff because we don't need that. Let's open up here. Let's go to the folder documents and we have SQLite, and let's kill the database over here. There we go. It is destroyed. And now we're going to refresh our iOS app and it should work. It doesn't work. Not null constraint failed. Habits.user ID. But I set the user ID. What is the problem? So let's go to seed. Where was the seed function? Seed. Habits.user ID. I put user ID over here, right? Await insert user model, right? So that should be fine. We're returning the user. And then over here, we go to our habit models, user ID, where is it null? Calling the not null constraint failed habits dot user ID. I mean, did I not put the user ID? Like, what's the problem? What do you use to simulate the iPhone device? This is the default, it's Xcode, which is Mac only. So if you want to simulate an iOS device, you have to get a Mac, unfortunately. But it's just the default simulator from Xcode. Oh, our app works. What happened? Well, there you go. I think that was fine. Yeah, it's the default simulator from Xcode. You can have any kind of iOS device. I have the 15 Pro Max running over here. And yeah, it just simulates exactly like a real phone, which is really cool. Really, really cool. Cool. What is your name? Man, we have to change these inputs. Let me just do that real quick because it bothers me and I don't like when things bothers me. Text input, right? Again, separate component for all of my text inputs, which is really great. And then primary here should be 100. It should be correct. 100. Okay, I need to fix my... Oh, I know what's happening. Yeah. Right, we're in dark. We were in light mode. I'm not going to deal with light mode now. I'm not down to... Actually, no, I'm not down to deal with light mode now. Let's do it dark mode because it looks a bit better. So we have Darius. That's my name. What are my goals? Well, I want to increase my fitness, improve my health, reduce stress, sleep better. Why not? Continue. Allow notifications. I've already installed this app, so it's fine. And then we're here on the homepage. There we go. Now we can actually have our button working. Because remember, this wasn't working because we didn't have any habits. Now it's working. We can proceed. There we go. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. So that's what we did. We did habits and then habits.length is lesser than 5. And now we're showing this button. Perfect. Then we have this schedule screen date list component, which is actually defined in the same file. So guys, if you ever need to put multiple components in the same file, do it. It's a great pattern to do. And it's especially useful if you're not exporting the component and it's only used in this specific file, right? It just makes a lot of sense. Instead of having a separate file, creating all of these imports and stuff like that, you can just put it here in the same file. So that's the schedule screen date list component. That is the component that runs this over here at the top. We don't need to do anything with this because it just receives a date range on press date and then selected date. And it does just things with the dates, right? So it doesn't do anything with that. We don't need to touch it, but we do need to work on this routine entry list component, which receives the selected date and then actually renders out all of our routines, which now we want to do it for the actual habits. Yes, this is React Native and yeah, using Expo. Someone mentioned it was not saved. You're right. That's probably what happened. When I was having the error, the file wasn't saved, which obviously if the file isn't saved, it's not going to work. Cool. So let's open up a routine entry list. Let's put it here on the right. Let's close all of these. Let's close this. And we're basically going to copy all of this to our habits, right? And we're going to do this one component at a time. So this is the routine entry list component. So all it does is it receives a date, right, from the parent, which is here, the selected date from the schedule component. And then it uses React query of the same query, get routines for date, right, which is going to be now get habits for date. And then it just renders here a flat list. This is a React Native specific component. It just renders out a list view, right? A vertical list view of things in a performant way. You want to use this if you're displaying lists of data in your React Native app. You just pass it your data and then you pass it a function to render each individual item. And here we're just rendering the routine entry card component, right? Which we're going to get to right after this component. Great. So I'm going to do this from scratch just to kind of explain a bit what I'm doing. I think it makes sense. So let's come here to our sidebar. Let's come here to, let's first close all of these. We're going to come here to components, right? And then we're going to come and make a new folder. We're going to put here new folder, habit. And this is going to contain all of our components that are related to habits, right? And as you're going to see, we have a lot of those. So we're going to come here. We're going to create, how did I do it in the routine? I did, yeah, they're all here at the root of routine. Perfect. So we're going to do habit entry list.tsx. And the reason I'm calling this habit entry list is you're going to be able to actually set an entry on the habit, right? So I kind of differentiate this because you're going to have like a views of habits. You're going to be able to show different habits in different places in the application, and not all of those places will allow you to actually set an entry to it. Cool. So we're going to do our trusty RGSFC. That's going to give us here a component. We're going to do habit entry list, and we're going to have this be a flat list, which we're going to import from React Native. And we're not going to give this any data just now. At the props, we're going to have this take a date, which is going to be of type date. There you go. And I'm also going to extend a few of the flat list props from React Native because as you can see here, we are passing content container style. So some styles for the actual content of our flat list. And then this list empty component. This is a component that the flat list will use if we have no actual data to show, right? So that's just a simple view. Think of views as divs, right? It's literally the same thing. That just has some text over here to say that there are no habits due that day. And it's what you see here. No habits due on this day, right? So that's it. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to have this be pick, and then flat list. We're going to give this props. We're going to import this from React Native. We're going to pass it here unknown and let Copilot kind of fix everything for us. There we go. We're just going to access the content container style and the list empty component. If in the future we want to access more of these, we can just extend this type. I always like to be a little bit more explicit than implicit, just because it helps make it clear sometimes. Cool. And then we're going to access the date. And then we're going to spread flat list props as the rest. And we're going to spread all of these props, flat list props. And there we go. Now we need to use our query over here. So we're going to do const data habits equals use habits for date query. Pass it the date. We have our habits. If we don't have habits, there we go. Copilot knows exactly what I want. We're going to show here an activity indicator, which comes directly from React Native. This is like the loading spinner that you see on like your devices. And it's great because it works for iOS and Android, and it has their own specific styles for that. So that's great. And then we're going to pass it here data. That's going to be habits, right? That is an array, right? So over here, it's going to be an array of our habits. And then we need to do the render item function, which means that we need the routine entry card or the habit entry card. So let's make that. Let's come here inside of our habit folder. We're going to do habit entry card.tsx. And we're going to open here routine entry card.tsx. And this is a big component. So we're going to do this. Yeah, this is a big file, but we're going to do this one step at a time. I don't believe that we need everything in this file right now, at least for that. And I think habits are simpler than routines. So yeah, we're going to do this like one step at a time, because this is like intimidating, right? This is like an example of like an actual real world project, which is, you know, it's different than what I do in my videos. And you can tell, like, you open the file and all you see is imports, right? Like, it's just imports. That's how you know that that's some serious business going on. And it makes sense, right? This is the one that you actually enter your routines, right? So it has to be complex. You can't really avoid it. Cool. So let's do it. RGSFC, we're going to do habit entry card. We're going to put here, what do I render? I believe it's pressable. Right. We're going to do a view for now, just a view to keep things simple. Import this from React Native. I have a pressable here because on press, you actually navigate to the details page of that routine. We're going to implement that later. Let's keep it simple to not like overwhelm ourselves. And then what do we need here for the props? So we need the date, and then we need the routine ID, right? Fair enough. We need the routine ID because we're fetching the routine. So we're going to need the habit ID here. Great. So we're going to do type and then habit entry card props. That is going to be date and then habit ID. And we're going to import this from our models. And just as a reminder, every single one of my models file here using Drizzle actually at the bottom exports some types. So the habit here is inferred from the actual model. And we also have one for the insert whenever we're going to create a habit, right? So we're using those to kind of have access to our habits all across our app. Which editor would you use for a blog app? Need suggestions in React. Dude, I have not done, like, do you mean, I don't think you mean like VS Code, right? Because obviously use VS Code or whatever. If you mean like an HTML kind of editor in a React application, I haven't done that in so long that the thing that I was using back then, which I forgot what it is, might have been Quill, actually, honestly. I'm not sure if it's still the standard today. If it is, great. If not, there's probably something else. So I don't know what to recommend. I can't really recommend something with certainty because it's been so long since I built like an HTML editor inside of a React application. But I'm sure that if you Google it, you can probably find something that makes sense. Look at number of stars on GitHub. Look if it's actively maintained. And kind of gauge based off of that, and also play around with it and see if it actually does the thing that you're trying to get it to do, right? That's, I think, important. Cool. Habit entry card props. So we're going to do date and then habit ID. There we go. Man, Copilot is like so helpful. Like it's ridiculous. It usually knows everything that I want to type, which is cool. Great. So I guess the first thing that we want to do is, right. So we need a new query. So here, we're essentially getting a singular routine for date, right? So remember, every single routine has a version, has a frequency, and you need the date to know if a routine is due on that date or not. Because if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's Thursday like it is today, you're not going to see that routine. You shouldn't see that routine because it's not due that day, right? So you need the date, and then you need the routine ID. And that is going to be a query that we're going to have to create because I currently don't have that one created. Cool. So we're going to create it. So let's save this file. Let's, first of all, we can complete the habit entry list. And this should be, the file name is wrong here, not lists with an S, but list. There you go. Habit entry list. There we go. And here we're going to do render item habit. Come on, Copilot. There we go. Beautiful. I just have to press tab and it just knows. It's phenomenal. Sometimes it makes mistakes though, and those mistakes actually took me a while to catch them, which is unfortunate, but it comes with it, right? So we're basically passing as the render item, so the function that gets called for each individual item of this habits array here, which we're getting from the query. It's going to run this function, and it's going to render the habit entry card. It's going to pass the date, which we have access to in this component here, and it's going to pass the habit ID so that our habit entry card can actually fetch the habit using the ID. Great. So inside of here, we need the singular version of the habit query because as you can see here, this is use habits for query, plural, right? So it takes in a date with no ID. We need to create the same one for the individual habit, just like we have here, use routine for date query. So let's take the easy route, honestly, and just take all of this query, copy it, come here, and then we're going to go and open up our folder, and we're going to find our hooks and then queries, and here we're going to create a new file. We're going to call this use habit for date query.ts. Close this, and then we're going to paste everything that has to do with a routine that we just copied, and we're going to replace everything magically with habit. There we go. Now we have two errors. We don't have the actual function from the backend, which is fine. We're going to create it. And we don't have a query key, but that's easily fixable. You just come here in your object, and then you're going to put habit, and then habit, and there we go. Now we cleared at least one error. So here, what this does, use habit for query, takes in an ID, which is going to be habit ID, and then the date, and then uses use query, passes the habit query key, passes the ID, and then the date as a filter object, right? So that we get caching automatically. And then the function get habit for date, ID, and then date. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now we need to do this get habit for date function. So we can close this one over here. We can even close this query because as soon as we create this function in our API/habits, it's just going to work, right? So like we don't need this file anymore. We can also close the list, because we don't need the list anymore. We can close the list on the right here. We don't need it. And now we're going to open up routines.api, which has all of the API for our routines. And we're going to open up habits.api, which is a much smaller file because we're currently in the process of moving everything over. Is the source code going to be public? I'm actually debating it. Maybe, maybe not. So I'm building 3 apps. One of them is the routine app, right? Which again, launching next week. The second one is this app. And the third one is a secret app that I'm not going to mention. But if you're smart enough and you can see where this is going, it's going to be a fork of the same base app as well. So just think about what we're building here and think about what else could I build that will not overlap with any of the 2 other apps. And I will see which ones, if I open source, I'm not sure, because I have to see like, how do you monetize an app if it's open source? How do you prevent people from taking the code and like creating the same app and publishing it on the App Store, right, using the code? That has happened in the past. And I don't know. I'm not sure. I see you don't make use of optional chaining. Is there a reason for this? Preference, I guess. So I think you're referring to habit entry list. I think you're referring to this. Not using, instead of like doing the if not habits, do the return indicator here. But actually this would still work. The reason I'm doing this is, first of all, I want an activity indicator. And I prefer, at least in my JSX, to have kind of a check, a guard clause, if you will, to make sure that my habits are there, because I don't like doing optional chaining everywhere, because sometimes something will be undefined when I don't expect it to, and that has like hit me in the past. So I usually do it like this, and it works. And then you can do extra code in here, like return something else if you don't have data, right? And then you can even put here, like if you had multiple data, like I believe I do it here in this entry card. No, I don't. But if you had like habits and then habit entries or multiple queries, you can actually check for all of them and then return like an activity indicator, like a loading state here, instead of doing it in the JSX, which I prefer. I don't like to litter my JSX too much, but again, there's no right or wrong way. It's completely up to you, and it depends on your preferences and the actual project. Cool. So thankfully, we already have a function that will... So this is the get routines for date function. That's not the one that we want, but we should have get routine for date. There we go. So let's just, no, let's not copy it. No, let's not copy it. Let's do it from scratch. So get habits for date. I'm going to put get habit for date at the top, because habit, I think makes more sense to go, like getting a singular habit makes more sense than getting all the habits. Anyways, that's just minor details. Cool. Export async function get habit for date. This is going to take the habit ID and then the date. There we go. And how do I do it here? I put ID. So let's put ID to be, did I put here get habits for date? So get habit for date is a function, right? It receives an ID. That ID is going to be the ID of the habit. I think that makes sense. Do I put it as habit ID or ID? Because get habit for date, here's the ID. It's the ID of the habit, right? Does it need to be explicit and say this is the habit ID? I did it here with ID. I did it everywhere with ID. Let's keep ID. If someone is unhappy, they can write a formal complaint. There you go. Can anyone tell me what's going on? Dude, I can. So we're building an app. We're building a habit builder that has an RPG twist, which is basically a gamified version. So what that means is, as you build habits, you get experience, you get coins, you're going to be able to like build a character, right? But it's an app, right? It's a habit app at the end of the day, but it's kind of this extra motivation to get you to, do your habits more, right? And that's what we're building now. And we forked a routine app that I built, and a lot of the code for the routine app is already done. That's why we get the scaffold of our app. And now we're porting over everything from routine to habits, right? So now we're doing this function, get routine for date. We're creating the equivalent get habit for date. So getting the habit on a specific date. All right, so that's what we're doing. TLDR. Cool. So I guess let's come here. So first, const habit equals copilot db.query.habitModel find one, where the habit model.id is equal to the ID. That's fair. And then with the versions. And the reason we're also getting the versions is because, remember, we have a date over here, and we need to know which version was on that date, so we can actually get the correct habit, right? Based on the date, right? So we need the versions because versions dictate on which date those versions were there. So we need those. Then we're going to make a check. If not habit, we're going to throw new error, habit not found. Do we need to put the ID here? I don't think we need to put the ID. We didn't put it in the routine, so we're not going to do it. Let's put no routine found. Why does Copilot, like, it knows that I have here no routine found? Why does it put like the ID and stuff like that there? Like, just copy exactly as it is. And see, I just realized it's a mistake. It's not routine, it's habit, right? We're doing habits now. That's going to get confusing real fast. Oh man, habits and habits. Don't you think it can be difficult to work with functions when their names have one letter difference? Yes, it can, but suggest a better name. I'm up for it. But like, we're getting the habit for a date, and then we also need to get the habits for a date as well, right? I haven't had a problem with it because I'm the only developer working on these apps, but good point, right? Good point. So yeah, suggest a better name. Can you share your YouTube setup video, like your equipment you're using to record good quality videos? So the mic here that I have is a Shure SM7B. It's like the default mic that every YouTuber uses, right? It's pretty expensive, but it's worth it. My camera is a Canon EOS R7. And then I'm using OBS for the stream. And I use Screen Studio to record my videos, which gives like the little cool animations and stuff like that. It's a great software. Then I use VSCode for my codes, and then I use my brains for the actual code. So there you go. Get many habits for a date. I mean, yes, but I don't like it. I mean, I get it. It's clear, but like, yeah, then you would do like get one habit for date, or get single habit for date, get multiple habit for date. I mean, at this point, I will leave it just because it matches the old one. But I mean, you can just rename the function and then have a better name if it comes to that. As long as I'm the only developer, I think it's okay. But no, good point. I never thought of that. Thank you for the suggestion. What's the error here? Property find one does not exist. See, why does Copilot think find one exists when you have like find first on right here? And Copilot is aware of different tabs, so it should know. Find first. There you go. So find the first where the ID is the ID with all of the versions. And then if we don't have the habit, no habit found. There we go. Then we need to get the version for the date, right? So which date are we on? What was the version that was available on that date? I have a handy helper function for that. Get habit version for date. Now, I mean, this could also be confusing, right? Get habit version for date. There's no get habit versions for date, plural. So at least there's that. But I get the confusion. There's a lot of similar things. We might revisit this in the future and deal with it. Cool. Let's do habit version. Then if not habit version, no habit version found. Then we're going to do const habit frequencies, because we want to get all of the frequencies of the habit, and those need the version, right? So that's why we kind of, we can't do these queries in parallel, unfortunately, because we need the version first on the date to be able to pass it here as the version ID of the frequency. So essentially, every frequency has a relationship to the version, and based on what version we're looking for, it's going to give us the frequency of that version. So if the frequency was Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 on that date, that's what we're going to get. If it was something else, that's what we're going to get as well. Cool. And then we're going to do if habit frequency is dot length. We're going to do no habit frequency found, just because there should always be some frequencies. So we should always check for that. And then we're going to do, there we go. If, what is this? Get routine for date. Oh, right. Yeah, we should check this. If not check habit on date. So this is a function that will essentially use the frequencies, use the date, and say, hey, like, is this correct, right? It's a handy helper function. It's pretty simple. It just takes the habit with the frequencies, takes the date, and then based on the days of the of the frequency, it's going to figure out, hey, like, is this actually due on that date? I'm going to make this check because you shouldn't be able to you shouldn't be able to fetch a habit on a date that isn't there, right? You shouldn't be able to see that. If you are seeing it, then you should be receiving an error. So let's put throw new error, habit not due on date, and then return habit. Great. So we have our get habit for date function. Perfect. That seems to be fine. So we can close this. We can now close this, and then here's the magic. It's already working because we've had all of the code already ready. It's already working. So const data habit equals use habit for date query. And here's good point. Here's where I see the confusion, right? So like you have use habit for date, use habits for date. Can you guarantee me that someone's not going to put the wrong one? No, but if you use the habits for date, okay, you're going to pass it the habit ID, but then the date, but there's only one argument here. There's no habit ID. So that would kind of prevent you from making that mistake. But I get your point. So use habit for date singular, and then import this directly. Perfect. So now this query has no more errors because we built this function inside of our API. So it should just work, right? There we go. So let's see. What else do we have here? So we have this. Let's just do this for now, honestly. How does this look? Oh, see, here I used optional chaining, by the way. Routine question mark. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use optional chaining here because there's nothing that I want to show. There's no UI that I want to show as a loading state for this query. And technically, we already have the data. No, we don't. But we will get the data pretty soon from... No, they're not connected. Never mind. Makes sense. But like right now, I don't want to show like a skeleton or something before this query is run. I might in the future, but right now I don't want to do it. So there's no reason for me to return something, to return null or whatever, like do if not habit, because there's nothing here for me that I really want to put in terms of UI. So I'm not going to do that. I am going to use optional chaining. So let's just do habit.questionmark.name. And this should be in a text because we are working in React Native. I cannot tell you the number of times that I forgot to put text and you get an error. There we go. I'm using the text component. Components, UI, text. If you're curious, this is my text component. It just returns a React Native text component over here. And then it just uses class variance authority to basically with Tailwind and the variants to actually handle all of my variants. So H1, H2, H3, H3, and some modifiers. So that's the component. My camera died. I'm back. I've teleported back. I'll check back later when on lunch break if you're still live. I'm planned to live for like another hour or so. So hopefully. Is it regular React or React Native? It is React Native, but for all intents and purposes, this works exactly as React, except for a few minor things, but this is React. Like React Native is 90% React. So yeah, let's say I'm curious. I haven't checked. How's the stream doing? There we go. Ooh, we have 36 viewers. That's legit. That's nice. There we go. We have views. Hope you're enjoying the stream, guys. I'm going to do a lot more of these. Just because I'm into building apps now and it just makes a lot of sense. And if I launch the app and it gets monetized, even better. All right, cool. So let's see. Wait, so now we have the habit entry card. We have the habit entry list. Let's make this bigger. We just need to put this here and we should be good to go. Our app still works. Has no errors, and actually let's make this white to make it a bit simpler to see. Has no errors, so we should, as soon as we change this from routine entry list to habit entry list, then we're gonna do habits, and if we save, Why? Why is there no habits? We should be seeing habits, no? Date, habit, entry, list, habits, use habits for date, return this, render out the habit entry card. Man, I really wanted this to work. What do we get in our logs? Do we get anything? Nothing is being logged. Why? Where did my OBS go? Ah, there it is. Why is nothing getting logged? Huh. I mean, we're importing habit entry card. Is it being logged here? An empty array. Let's look at our database. I hope you guys can see it. I can't make this bigger. So habits. Oh, we don't have a, I think our seed function did not work. Let's delete the database. Let's refresh. That's going to give us a fresh start. Let's see. There's the habit. There's our workout habit. Let's go. Do you teach something like this in your course? Dude, exactly this. Although a little bit less complex than like this file, right? This is a big file, right? We do things a little bit less complex just to make it simpler because the course is designed to like teach you React, right? But all of the concepts that I'm showing here, like creating custom components, right? Like we have the habit entry list. This follows the single responsibility principle where it is only responsible for one thing, right? Rendering the list of habits, right? That's a principle. We teach that in the course. And the course obviously is React, right? So it's not React Native, it's specifically React on the web. And we go through like navigation, state management, what else? We go to authentication, forms, right? So yes, definitely. And it walks you through in like such a organized fashion from like step 1 to like step whatever, how many steps are in there. And it's great. The feedback's been great. We have a couple of 100 people on there. Like they've all liked it. So if you want to really learn React, I highly, highly recommend it. That's why I push it as well. You get some of the things here in this project, but you don't get the full thing. Like you're not going to get all of the files in this project and me walking you through unless I'm actually using them for the live stream, right? But in that course, you get everything and it's properly like walked. So yeah. Can you create in the future a tutorial on how to use search params? Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. I think that you're referring to Next.js, right? I have to do more Next.js content. I'm planning to. Funny enough, my next video that I have planned that is actually touching Next.js is one on authentication. I see you guys like authentication, and it's a difficult thing to like implement, right? To get all of the edge cases. And I think a video on the like actually implementing a proper auth flow in Next.js, which a lot of you use, I think makes sense. I think would do well, and I think is very valuable. So I'm going to start with that. And then if that goes well, I'm going to slowly trickle a bit more Next.js content. The thing that you have to know about me is that I'm primarily a React Native dev. That's why we're building this in React Native. Also because this app makes more sense as an actual app than a website. I don't think you would use a website for your habits. You'd rather have it on your phone. But I'm primarily a React Native dev, so I don't use Next.js that much in my day-to-day, right? So that's also one thing that's kind of, I don't make a video unless I know what I'm talking about, because that kind of doesn't give you like it doesn't do right by you, right? Like I'm teaching something, I should know what I'm talking about. So I'm only talking about things that I know And if I don't quite know the thing fully or the thing I'm talking about, I tend to stay away until I get to know it. Obviously, I know Next.js. I've used it. I'm familiar with server components and stuff. But again, slowly, right? Slowly. Project React is very good for learning a lot of good practices. Thank you, Ali, man. I appreciate that. I assume you're in the course. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. I'm desperately waiting for React 19 to come out so that I can make extended, because it makes sense to like add everything that is React 19, which is going to change some things in the course, to add those in extended. So I'm like really excited to do that. It's just taking so long, right? Like, it's fine. Let them take their time. It's better for them to take their time than to release something that is broken. But as soon as that comes out, I'm going to do extended and I'm going to put in the course. If you got the course already, you're going to get extended for free. Included. It's going to be an extra module, right? That's what I sold it to you on the landing page. So that's what you're getting. If you're not in the course yet, maybe consider joining, because extended after it launches will be a separate thing that you purchase, most likely. So if you want to get the course, get it now. You're going to get extended, and it's going to make, you're going to get more value for your money, essentially. Really appreciate your content. By chance, would you do a walkthrough tutorial with Docker? You know, I've been thinking about things beyond React, like deploying and stuff like that. I have to look into the numbers, if it makes sense, if enough people are using Docker to deploy React applications. Because usually nowadays you would use like Vercel or Netlify or some other variant of that, right? But if you want to like self-host and deploy it yourself with Docker, makes a lot of sense, has a lot of use cases, and I will look into it. Thanks for the suggestion. David, enjoy, man. I really hope that you're going to get a lot of it, and pay attention to, you know, the modules, and it has everything that you need. So respect. I'm learning React and I've created some projects with it, but I think I should learn TypeScript and work with TypeScript plus React. Is that a good idea? Yes. And the thing is, so with TypeScript, right? A lot of developers think that, oh my God, TypeScript is so difficult, right? Or like, oh, it's like so daunting, you know, but like, you don't need like much, especially if you're learning. Like when I learned TypeScript, I dove straight in. And for everything that I didn't know what to type, I just put any, right? Like, again, here, instead of date here, I could put any, and it's going to work. And it's going to be exactly the same as JavaScript, right? So the first step is just convert your file from JavaScript to TypeScript and just start putting any's everywhere. And then slowly, you're going to be able to figure it out, right? Like, for example, if you have something like const, I don't know, like amount, set amount, right? Equals use state, and then import this from React, you're going to give this 0. You actually, in TypeScript, you don't even need to type this. The type is automatically inferred over here. If I hover over amount, it's of type number, right? So you don't need to do anything there. But if you wanted to, for example, you want to have this undefined initially, you could give it here. You could give it number as a type. And now amount is going to be number or undefined, right? Of course, you gave it a type number, but its initial value is undefined. So that's what its type is. It's number or undefined, right? So if you then want to call set amount and you want to pass here a string, it's going to complain that a string does not belong to number or undefined, right? Start with that, right? It's super simple. Change this to a number, and now it works. You have no more errors, and you now understand, right? So now you know a number. You can do the same thing with a string, right? String like this, and now you have types in here, and now you know how to type any state variable. If you have an object, for example, you can create a type for that object and give it here as the type of useState, and then you're only going to be able to put that object in useState. Start with that. Don't worry about any other function, anything else. Get comfortable with that. It's not intimidating at all. And then just work your way up and then slowly replace the any's once you actually know and understand what you're doing. And by the way, I did mention this earlier in the live stream. I have a video on introductory TypeScript from JavaScript in terms of a React component. So JSX to TSX, I have that as a video. Check it out. It's going to walk you through how you would actually type a component simply using TypeScript. Start with that and then slowly start building upon it, right? Best TypeScript tutorial in 60 seconds. There you go. That's it, right? You just learn, you just jump right into it, and don't get intimidated, right? Like, just go for it. Dude, use even a lot of my code in my videos, or I have the repo for them on GitHub. They're all TypeScript, and a lot of them are super simple repos, right? So start with that. You have the types, investigate them, try removing a type. You're gonna get an error. Try to understand why you're getting the error, and then why the type why having the type there makes sense, right? It's a great resource, but don't get intimidated. You don't need to. It can be intimidating once you get to like complex types, but for like a React component and just general JavaScript functions, TypeScript functions, you can, easily get it. It takes a bit of time, but soon enough, you're going to be writing all of these complex types in no time, right? Even this type here, habit entry list, right? It's an object that has date, right? So we have here the date as the property of the component. That's it. It's a simple date object. This comes from JavaScript directly, right? And then I'm just picking here. That's pick. It comes from TypeScript. I'm just picking from the flat list props. I'm picking content, container style, and then list empty component, right? That's it. I'm just taking some types and then adding them to the date. And that's the type of my component, right? It is a little bit more complex than just a simple state type. But again, takes simple steps and you're going to be able to quickly figure it out over time, right? Just believe in yourself and don't get intimidated. That's the solution. Is there any event with 100K subs? I did not think about it, but I might do a live stream. I think it makes sense. I might do a live stream. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a live stream for 100K subs. I just hope it's not like overnight, because that sucks, but let's figure it out. We're going to see. Yeah, let's code a bit because I'm down to code. So it's working, right? Our workout is showing. And see here, it scrolls because that's what a flat list does in a React Native application. So open up, if you have any app on your phone, like Instagram or any feed, even TikTok, right? It's a scrolling behavior. Although TikTok, I think, has a custom implementation. Right? That's the flat list. That's how you get a scrolling list of content on the phone. Because phones are vertical, you need to scroll to be able to see all of the content. Great. So now we have the workout over here. We have our actual UI. Perfect. So now we can actually build stuff with it. We can close the routine entry card for now and go back here to habit entry card. Remove this console log, and then we can actually style this. So what styles do we want to put? Actually, I should have kept the routine entry card because I want to see the styles that I put. Let me just copy all of these styles. By the way, this looks like Tailwind. It is Tailwind, but Tailwind obviously is a web thing, right? So it doesn't one-to-one work with React Native because React Native is not web. So I'm not using class names. I'm using style objects because that's how you style your components in React Native. But I'm using this really cool library. It's called, there we go. I have this custom utility here. It's called TWRNC. So Tailwind React Native classes, class names or something. And I just create my Tailwind object over here. And it takes in a config and it works exactly as Tailwind, but you have to use tw.style and then you pass it your styles over here. In React Native, styles work a little bit differently, so you have to do this, but essentially I have Tailwind in my React Native application, which is great. Any developer that's worked in the web can easily come in here and understand pretty much what is going on. Let's say if I do this, there we go. We have this. Okay. Let's fix the colors now, because now I'm bothered with the colors. So on dark mode, this is correct, right? So this is fine. On light mode, this is not correct because it's background primary 200. So background primary 200. And if we go here to tailwind.config, these are the colors. I believe this one should be changed. And I think I can put the 100 and have this. Let's see how this looks. This is not bad. This is not bad. This is not bad. On, oh, I'm so mad that my other app is currently broken because I would be able to show you how. Can I? No, I don't want to fix this right now. This is fine. So then we're going to need to change the color of this. So let's go to palette. There we go. I'm using coolers for my colors. It's a great little application. And I think generate, there we go. You go to generate, you put here a color. I'm gonna paste this one. And then you get all of the shades of the color, which is really cool. So, I mean, I guess we're gonna put white as the 100 color of this. Gonna put white, fine. Fine, I think this is fine. We're gonna iterate on the design later. I think this is fine. OBS is back, there you go. Riyadh, what's up, man? I sent you a message on LinkedIn. Dude, I do not check my LinkedIn. I hate that app with a passion. So I'm invisible on there. Best place is Discord, honestly. Bogdan, you're here. What's up, dude? Glad to see you, man. How are you going, man? How are things? Your job is going well. Last you told me, you seem to be doing really well, man, which makes me super happy that you're doing great as well. And yeah, thank you for wishing me that I'm doing great. Let's hope I wish all of you to be doing great all the time, even though that's not realistic, but you know, one can be hopeful. But yeah, it's a beautiful life and we should all enjoy it, right? Especially when we get to be React developers and get to code. Cool. So I think this is fine as a color. Let's close this. What else do we want, right? So we have the routine here. What else do we want? Oh, the icon. We have an icon for our routine. We have icons available. Let's use them. So we're going to come here, take this, and I'm going to put here SVG icon. We're going to put habit, and then we're going to put habit icons. What's routine icons? Oh, okay. So we have this routine.utils. Again, utils folder, underrated. We're going to come here and create habit. Oh, I already have habit.utils. Great. So we're going to put inside of here, instead of routine icons, habit icons, and then habit here. And then SVG props from React Native SVG. So all of these are SVGs. And then we're going to import. Is it going to import them correctly? It is. Perfect. So all of these SVG, armchair, barbell, whatever, they are actual components. So it's an actual React component. It uses React Native SVG, which lets you have like actual SVGs inside of your code. And you can actually customize them, which is really cool. And that's what those icons are. So we create this habit icons here. Right? All of these, they're properly typed, and then we're going to use them. Great. So habit icons, import them from here, and then we're going to pass habit.icon. Because our types are correct, we get no more errors. Perfect. So now we have SVG icon. If we have a habit, we're going to try to get the icon from the habit icons. If we don't, we're just going to render a view, right? So that's totally fine. And then we're going to take this SVG icon and we're going to put it like this and save it. And what do we have? There you go. We have the icon. Our app is starting to look good. And see, this is the benefit of like having having forked this from the previous app. I have a lot of the code already ready and it's not that different from a routine to a habit. Yes, they're fundamentally slightly different, but a lot of the things are reusable. So I don't need to like refigure this out, recreate all of the icons and everything. I can just share them. And if, as I'm building this app, I suddenly realize that there's a bug or that I want to do something different that I find would also make sense on the previous app, I can do it. I can just go back to the fork and then implement the change and it's in sync, right? So again, I'm building 3 apps with one code base. And if all 3 apps get to be like monetized and successful, that's like a hack, man, right? That's a hack in terms of launching apps in a startup. So that's cool. So we have that. There we go. So what else? What else can we do? Let's put some styles here. So first, I'm going to want to align the title over here with the icon, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. So we're going to create a new view, which again, view equals div. in React, right? So that's React Native, this is React. And we're gonna do style, that would be the same as class name in React, then tw.style, and then here we're gonna pass our tailwind. I'm gonna do flex row. We're gonna do items center, and that should be enough. Boom. Oh yeah, and then we're gonna do gap, what is it here? 4. And then here I have max width 60% because we have a menu. We're gonna have a menu here, right? To be able to tap, and that's gonna give you some options on the specific card over here. We're not gonna do that just now. I'm gonna leave it for later. We're not gonna worry about that because we don't have our menu just yet. Great. And then what else? Oh, right, let's do this. Yeah, okay. So look at this piece of code here. So this one is a view, again, a div, right? Gets the routine name and then gets the time of that routine. This routine time text here comes from this over here, right? And this, I'm using use memo for this, which I didn't have to, but I should, at least until React 19 comes out, and at least until those changes actually come to React Native, which gets those things a little bit later. But essentially, I have this helper function here, which gets the routine, time, and duration text based on the routine. Which means, as you can see here, we're getting the routine, we're getting the frequencies, we're passing the frequencies and the items, and these are coming from these queries over here. So we have to implement these queries as well. And it's important to note that they're separate queries, right? And we're combining them inside of this use memo together to create something, to create one entity, one text. It's actually a string variable over here. So let's do that, okay? Let's first come here and let's do const habit, man, I'm gonna make so many mistakes with this, time text equals use memo. We're gonna import this from React. And for now, we're just gonna have this return an empty string, and we're gonna pass it here an empty dependency array. We're gonna start one step at a time. We're gonna do this from scratch. Cool. Then we're gonna first make a check. If we have no habit, we're gonna return an empty string, right? Because here our habit is initially gonna be undefined from React Native. If we don't have a habit, we're gonna return an empty string. That way we get no errors. This is always going to be typed as an actual string. Great. Then we need to return. So we need this get routine time and duration text. This is a function over here. It takes in a routine with the frequencies and the items. So an array of items. Oh, this is going to be interesting. So the way a routine works, so you have a routine, for example, morning routine, right? Your morning routine has multiple items in it, multiple steps, right? You need to make your bed, you need to brush your teeth, you need to make your coffee, whatever, right? And I'm using those items to figure out how long is your actual routine. So that's why we have this function over here. We don't need that inside of habit because a habit is a singular thing. You have one habit and it doesn't have sub tasks, at least not now. We could maybe add in the future, but it doesn't. So I'm getting here the total duration, right? So I'm taking in the routine side, I'm taking all of the steps and I'm getting the total duration of all of the steps, right? Making your bed takes you 5 minutes. Making your coffee takes like 5 minutes, right? Total time, 10 minutes, right? In a habit, there's no time. So we don't need that. We just need the time of the actual habit. When is it due, right? So that makes it a bit simpler. We actually don't need to have this whole thing over here. All we need to do is we just need to get the frequency of the habit on that date. The frequency habit frequency model has the time over here. So we just need to get that frequency and then we get access to the time, and that's all that we need to show there. We don't have any other duration because we don't have steps in it. So that makes it a bit simpler. So we're going to need to do const data habit frequencies equals, and here we don't have this one, right? So I'm taking this one, use habit frequency for date query. query for. We don't have this defined. And actually this is going to be just one singular frequency. So habit frequency. So we need to build this query. So as usual, let's come here. Let's take this query. We're going to copy all of this. We're going to then go back here. We're going to open up the sidebar queries. Use habit free for date.tsx.ts rather. Paste this and then change everything from routine to habit like this. There we go. Then we need a query key, so that's fine. We're gonna do habit frequency. So we got the query key. Perfect. So this will take in a habit ID and then an optional date. Fair. That's fine. Cool. So now we need this get habit frequency for date from API/habit frequencies, which we do not have. We have to create. So there you go. What will come with React 19? Dude, a lot of changes. The new compiler is going to come. Different APIs for like context and stuff like that are also going to come. No longer need for use memo, for use callback and stuff like that, right? So that's pretty important. So I'm planning to take all of those updates and actually put them in the course as well, because it makes sense, right? I'm teaching in the course how to use memo, which I think is still valuable even after React 19 actually, just because not every project or company is going to update to React 19 instantly. It's going to take some time. And if you happen to work at one of those companies, which would be pretty common, then you will still need to work with use memo. So you need to understand use memo and how it actually works, right? So yeah, cool. So now we need to create that habit frequency for date function. So let's create it. Let's come here, go to routines API. Let's find the, no, not routines, routine frequencies dot API. And we need to get routine frequency for date. There we go. Cool. So let's come here to our API folder. Let's make here a new file, habit frequencies. And then we are going to, let's do it here. So let's export async function, get habit frequency for date. That is going to be habit ID, and then date, and that's going to be equal to a new date. There we go. That's a function. So we're going to do const habit equals await db.query.habit model, find first where the habit equals, there you go. We're going to import the database equals. So the habit is going to be the habit where the habit model equals the habit ID. There we go. I'm actually going to put headphones for just a moment. Easier like this. There we go. You can still hear me. Cool. Yeah, cool. So the habit with the versions, we again need to get the versions to be able to know which which frequency is due on that date, right? So the frequency is going to give us the time. My camera died. I am back. I have to really figure out how to fix that, but I don't know currently, so it's fine. If no habit, throw new error, habit not found, then as usual, const version equals get habit version for date. We're going to import this from our utils. If we don't have a version, habit version not found. And then we're going to do const copilot. Come on, do it for me. Where, there we go. Come on, copilot, do everything. Beautiful, beautiful. So it knows, it knows. Let's just double check that copilot got it right, because sometimes it has a tendency to not. So habit frequencies, habit frequency model, find many, where the habit frequency model dot habit ID, because every habit frequency belongs to a habit, is equal to the habit ID. Order by created at, so we order them descending by the most recent ones. And then we just return, this is wrong. This is wrong. Oh no, I have a bug. This is wrong. Why did we get the version, but we're not using it in the query here? This is wrong. I don't need order by. I believe I put order by when I wasn't accounting for the versions, and I was just trying to get the latest one regardless, because that was the latest one. But if I'm trying to get here, like in the app, if I'm trying to get like 3 days ago, and I've changed my habits since 3 days ago, I don't want the latest frequency time to show. I want the most up-to-date one. Sorry, not the most up-to-date. I want the one that belongs on that date. That's why we're getting the version over here. But I'm not using the version in the query when I should. So instead of order by, it should be where we're going to put this and like this. So we're going to say where the habit frequency dot habit ID is equal to the habit ID, and the equals habit frequency model dot habit version ID equals version ID, right? We don't care about the order by. We just want to get the frequencies that belong to that version. And let's think about this. There's only ever going to be one of those, because every time I change the version, I also change over the frequency and I copy it to a new version. So the only frequencies that are going to get returned here are the ones that match, or the singular one that matches this actual version. So I don't need order by here, because that's very important. I don't need order by here. That is a bug, which means that is a bug in the routines app, which I'm about to launch. So I'm not going to fix it here inside of this file, but I'm going to fix it. This is I just switched VSCode. This is the routines project. I'm going to fix it here because I don't want to launch with that bug. And I did not catch this until now. So I'm going to do routine frequencies. That's the same file that we had open in my other editor. And here, instead of order by, it's going to be the same thing. And then we're going to put this here. We're going to import this from Drizzle. And then we're going to do comma. And that is going to be routine frequency model dot routine version ID equals version ID. That makes sense. I just fixed the bug. Good. Now I'm going to go back, and now we're back on the habit app, right? So again, there's no versions here. We're not going to bother because everything that is routines is going to get deleted eventually. We caught it. Hey, I want to ask a question. I will start a project, which is an AI tutor. There will be some drawing interactions and live chat. Which tech do you suggest? If you're doing drawing and it is for iPads, and especially if it's not for like Android tablets, Swift UI, 100%. You're going to get the best performance. You're going to get really the best that you can get. It is different than React, and it is not cross-platform. But if you're targeting iPads and you want a great user experience for an iPad, which users of an iPad really care about, I would go with Swift UI. I'm also not sure how well supported drawing functionality is in React Native and how performant it is. So I would look into Swift UI. However, look into React Native Skia. It is a library built by Shopify for React Native that has a really performant graphics and drawings, and you might be able to do something with that. I have seen something like Instagram or Snapchat, like, you know, when you draw on a thing on those platforms. I have seen that done with React Native Skia, and it was okay. But if you really want performance, then go with Swift UI. I prefer React Native. It's pretty good with Expo. Definitely. That's what I'm using here. React Native is like phenomenal with Expo. Never going back to no Expo. Cool. So now we did our get habit frequency for date. Perfect. So we're going to save that. Then we need to create... Oh, we already have it. Perfect. Habit frequencies. Habit frequencies. There we go. Perfect. We have our query. We can close this. 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 And we can import this because it now exists. And we need to pass it here. What do we need? We need habit ID and then date. So habit ID, date. There we go. We now have the habit frequency. Perfect. So to get the time, we just need to do text and then habit frequency dot time. And let's open up our app. Boom. Boom. We have the time. We have the time. See how simple that is when you like have proper components and everything has a single responsibility, right? You make this query, right? It gets the data. You render it here. This is a small component. It has like under 40 lines of code and it's simple and it just works, right? When you get React and you get all of the patterns, they just work and I love it. So that works. Cool. Now we're just going to style this. So I want to put this one below the workout over here and have this be a little bit smaller as well. So let's do that. Let's first add a variant here to our text component. We're going to put H2. What did I put here? Variant H3. Let's put H3. H3. There we go. And by the way, I just specify a variant H3. Then my text component receives the variant as props. And then it just knows what to do. It knows that for H3, it needs to put text XL, font semi-bold, right? It just knows. It's efficient, right? Again, simple component. Every single text in this app uses this component that has all of these things. I can just put a variant. I can put a size. I can put some modifiers. I can customize this as much as I want. And it just works, right? Simple component, right? If I ask any developer to work on this, they'll be able to easily add something to this component. It's not difficult. Do I use native Wint? No, I don't. I know a lot of people use it. I don't understand how people are actually using it because there's some so native Wint, what it does is I forgot how it works exactly, but it uses class names to your actual elements. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that you do class name here. I believe that's how it does, right? Let's look at it. Native Wint. I just want to see, to remind myself how it actually does it. Let me zoom in a little bit. Expo, quick starts. Right, yeah. So here's the thing. It puts class names on every single element, which is fine. I get it. That's what you want, right? Fair enough. Let me just move this here. Fair enough. That's what you want. The thing is, in React Native, a lot of libraries, a lot of native APIs need the style prop, not the class name. And you can actually not pass the style prop using this at all. And so it breaks a lot of things. You have to, I believe that there is a workaround for that, but it's like a nasty workaround. And I didn't want to do that. And it broke some of the things that I was using. So using the library that I'm using, which is TWNRC. So let me go TWNRC. This library, this one, there we go, it does the same thing, right? You can put tailwind in here, but it uses the style prop. This over here evaluates to a style object, which is native to React Native, right? So you're going to be able to pass this to any third-party library, and it's just going to work without any workaround, right? So I prefer this, right? A lot of developers go for native Wint. I mean, it's on them. I prefer this, right? So I'm not using native Wint. I'm using React Native, Tailwind React Native class names. There you go. The red flag is that there's no inheritance from the container to the other elements. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's incomplete and it didn't work. But this library here, the Tailwind React Native class names, phenomenal. Cool. So let's do that. How did I do this here? Can I just copy this entire thing, honestly? Let's see. Can I just copy it and then replace routine with habit? And then habit frequency time. and then import SVG time from my assets. Oh, and the SVG icon. Beautiful, 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 right? Again, simple. I have the components. Everything's already built for me. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. It just works, right? So that's beautiful. Cool. So we have the workout over here. Great. We have the icon. The last thing I'm going to do is the menu here to be able to edit and delete. And then we're going to pause it for now. But yeah, let's do that. And again, I have the code right here. So as you can see here, we have a routine entry card menu. That is another component, right? Routine entry card menu. This component is defined in the same file over here. So it's routine entry card menu, right? This just uses the menu view, which is a library from that you had to install, right? React Native menu. It uses this library and it just renders an actual menu. So I believe, actually no, let's do it from scratch. So let's come here, create a new component. We're going to create the component in the same file because this menu over here is only going to be used for the routine and for the habit entry card, right? It's only used here. So it doesn't make sense to make it in a separate file, right? I just got here, is that React Native? Yes, it is React Native. We're building a habit builder app that is gamified using RPG elements. And we're forking it from one of my previous apps, which is why we have a lot of the code already done. Is that CVA, class variance authority package? I saw the modifier property, but I didn't find it in the docs. Oh, it is. And about the modifier, so let's go back here to the text. The modifier is not something that comes from CVA. The modifier is my prop modifier. So the way this component, the way that I've designed this component, I chose all of my props here. So I had this component have a variant, which is standard. Is it an H1? Is it an H2, H3? Is it Excel, large, medium, whatever, right? Then I also added this modifier, and subtle here basically makes it less, have less opacity. For example, you see here, I put modifier subtle, right? This is how it looks. It's not as black as this text over here. If I remove this, it's now black, right? It's darker. The modifier is a modifier that goes on top of the variant. I designed this way, right? Because you can have an H1, but you also can have an H1 that is subtle, that you don't want it to be as black, right? So the modifier is my own custom prop, as is the variant. You control your own props. Then in CVA, you actually put the same props here that you created. So this modifier, you're not going to find it in the docs because it's mine. The variant, you are going to find it in the docs, but that's because that's the recommended way to set up a variant. That's what the CVA does, right? To have a variant. You could name variant to something else, to type or whatever. But convention, use variant. But this modifier is my own thing, and I created it using my own props. That's why it's there. So yeah, we're going to put back subtle, and then yeah, we're going to do this component. So the routine entry card menu. Cool. So function, routine entry card menu, and we're going to have to give it here some types, some props. So type routine entry card. Again, man, I read routine, but I'm doing habits now. It's guys, if I make a mistake like that and I don't catch it, please let me know, because that's gonna have some bugs. And even worse if we ship this to production. And so habit entry card, that's gonna be menu props. There we go. That's gonna be a function like this. There we go. We're gonna have this take in a routine ID. Oh my God, habit ID. There you go. And what is the habit ID used for? It is used, yeah, here we're gonna actually send and navigate to. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So let's do the menu view. So return menu view. Import this from React Native menu. Does this need anything else? Yeah, it needs like this. We're gonna put inside of it, we're gonna put this button, another one of my own custom components. So button, we're gonna import the button from UI button. And here, just to go to the definition, this is my custom button component. It is a little bit bigger just because it has a little bit more things, but the same principle, right? Button props has some props over here that we get to use, has a variant as well, and a size. So here it's not a modifier, but here it's a size, because in the context of a button, right, the variant isn't necessarily the size. You can have a primary button that is large, small, medium. You can have a secondary button that is large, small, medium, right? So you get to define how your components behave and what makes sense for those components. So here I have the variant, primary, secondary, and then link, and then size, default, small, medium, right? Default, yeah, small, large. And then I have all these other props like icon, is loading, text, and so on, right? And then all of this code that kind of manages all of these things. And then at the bottom, I'm using variant as well, CVA, right? And here I have size instead of modifier, right? But I still have variant here because again, variant makes sense, right? And here, because I'm using other components, so I'm using the text component inside of the button component, I'm actually also giving some text variants based on the props they pass to the button. They're going to override the variants of the text, because remember, the text component has some of its variants over here, but in the context of a button, these styles should be different. So I created this text variants here inside of the button, which gets passed, as you can see here, to the text component, right, as the variants. So that's going to override whatever the button specified, right? So again, this is an example of a component that's a little bit more complex, right? And you're kind of putting multiple components together. But if you do that, you get to have like really scalable things, because once this is done, right? This is done. I'm not touching this anymore unless I need to change something. Once this is done, I just use this in my components, like 4 lines of code. And a lot of these are optional, right? Like the icon's optional, the variant's optional. It's going to get defaulted to some value, and the style is optional, right? I think even on press is optional, but again, is it? It is. So technically, I can render a button like this, and it's going to render with default styles. That's what makes this so powerful. As a developer, right? If you work within a project in a real application, especially as like a junior or intermediate, you're not often going to be tasked with building this component. Right? This is complex. You need to have some experience to know how to properly do this. But is it really hard to just use the component and then pass it some props to fit the styles that you want? And oftentimes you're going to have a design system to follow, which is going to tell you this button is a primary, this button is secondary. So you just put it, right? And it makes a lot of sense. So don't get intimidated, right? Again, you're going to work your way up, and slowly, if you are consistent, you're going to be able to create these components and actually use them in your applications, right? And then once you're comfortable with that, you're going to build more components, more complex, and you're going to combine them together, and you're going to be a great developer. But it takes time, it takes dedication, and you have to do it one step at a time, and don't get intimidated. Start with this. Start with a button, have it have one prop, and just go with that. That's it. If you can get that, then add your second prop, right? And build from there. That's how you do it. Cool. So, habit ID. We're not going to do this mutation here to delete, because that's a whole thing. We're going to do that in another live stream, or I might do it off stream and then show you how it's done. But I'm just going to take these actions over here and copy them. And actually, let me just do it manually so that you get to see what we're actually doing. So actions is a property of React Native menu. That is going to be an array of actions. So what are the actions that we can actually do on this thing? Each action is going to be an object, and it's going to have title. And here we're going to put, I need my translation. There we go. So I'm going to put here, this is using React 18 Next to translate things. I'm going to do T shared.edit. Right, there we go. Then ID is going to be equal to edit. The ID over here is what we're going to use in this onPress action to basically get the ID. And based on the ID, if it's edit, we do one thing. If it's delete, we do another thing, right? That's what the ID is. Then we're going to do here image. That's going to be an image on a menu. I'm going to show you how this looks like. Platform.select. This is something specifically to React Native, because React Native is cross-platform. We're building iOS and Android apps and web apps as well. We can do things based on a platform. So if this is running in iOS, it's going to do this. If this is running in Android, it's going to do that, right? That way you write the same component, but some things obviously need to be different. And so you use this to actually make them different, right? So iOS, That's going to be square dot end dot pencil. These are the actual default icons from iOS, so I don't control the names of these icons. Android, and that's going to be IC, menu, edit, same thing, comes directly from Android, right? So we have an item. There we go. Now we're going to take the same thing with the second item, and I'm just going to put it here inside of the array. And this is going to be shared delete, delete, attributes, destructive. This is going to make it look red to know that, hey, we're actually doing a destructive action. And we're doing the same thing, an image, trash, or IC, menu, delete. There we go. And then here, we're going to do on press action. That is going to be a sync, and is going to take in native event. And here, based off of that, we're going to do if native event dot event equals edit. We're going to do console.log edit. We're not going to do the mutation now. That's, and then let me see. This, there you go. Else, if native event dot delete, we're going to console log delete, right? So on press of any action, we receive the native event. If that event is equal to ID, which is this ID property over here and this ID property over here. If it's edit, we console log edit. If it's delete, we console log delete. All of this will show up as a button of variant link with the icon menu, which I've configured in my button with these styles. And then on press, we just prevent the default because we don't have it currently, but we're going to wrap all of our card over here, the habit entry card, in something that when you tap it, it's going to navigate you to the details page. But we don't want this on press button to also navigate you there. If you're pressing this here, you want to open the menu, not navigate. So we prevent the default behavior to not have the event bubbling up, right? So that's what we do. So now with this, all that we have to do is come here and let's just put it flex row items. I believe we can put it here. Habit entry card menu. We're going to pass the ID. And there we go. It is showing up here, right? We have the menu here. I press it. We have our edit. We have our delete. If I do this, it logs edit in the console. If I press delete, it logs delete in the console. So this works. So then the only thing that we would have to do is attach some actual functionality over here like this. Great. It works. So let's just finish up the styles of this. So let me see how I did it over here. So we have, I'm going to be lazy and I'm just going to copy all of this thing here and just re-replace everything with routine. And that's going to be justify between item center gap 4. So I copied. I'm going to copy all of this. Yes, that's all that I need. Paste all of this here. And then routine. Habit. We don't have the habit streak, but we have the habit over here. And then routine, habit, and then habit question mark dot frequency. No, dot time. Oh no, not habit frequency dot time. And if we save this, doesn't this look better now? Now it's here at the top right, right? So you're going to press this. It's going to navigate you to the delete, to the edit page, which we don't have. You press this, it's going to delete, re-invalidate the query, and put this back. So there we go. We have the basic workings of our card. Our component is getting a little bit big. I mean, our file, the component itself is actually under, it's 50 lines of code. That's not really big. Actually, no, the component itself is like 30 lines of code. So that's not big at all. But we put 2 components in here. We did not use the habit ID yet. We're going to use it next time just because we haven't implemented this, the functionality, right? When we're editing something, what ID are we editing, right? That's going to be the habit ID. When we're deleting something, what's the ID that we're going to delete, right? We haven't done that. We have it here inside of the routines, right? We're pushing using the routine ID and we're deleting using the routine ID. So that's it. I'm going to pause it here for now. I think we did quite well. I'm proud of the progress that we did so far. I am working on this pretty much like in my free time, right? So that's like daily. I do a bit of work on this. So I will work on this between this and the next live stream. But yeah, we're going to see where we're at next time, right? It's going to be interesting. Every live stream, the app is going to be more built, and eventually we're going to launch it, and it's going to be cool. How's our live stream doing? I haven't checked it in a while. There we go. Nice. You guys are great, man. Like you're watching. Like I enjoyed this quite a lot. So there you go, guys. Thank you once again for watching. It's been great. And I will see you soon in another YouTube video or another short, which I've started posting again, or in the next live stream, or in Project React. If you have not gotten the course, you should. It's going to teach you everything that I'm doing here in a more concise and more approachable way. And I would highly recommend that you check it out. If you really want to learn React and understand how it works fundamentally, then that's the best resource. Damn, you're late. You are, but this is recorded, so you're going to be able to see it right after, so you can catch up, man. We did some really cool things in here. So don't worry, catch the next one. It's going to be probably this Thursday at the same time. So now you know. There you go, guys. Thank you once again for all of you that were here, for commenting and being a part of this. Really enjoyed this, and I will see you.